What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Josh, here with
his co-host and co-coach, KG, and I'm on the mic.
This is motivation, so let's get fired up, take a sip of that coffee, let's learn, grow, and get inspired together. And as always, we like to kick this off with our primary question, and we got a really fun one. So the first question we have is, out of curiosity, what habits should I break to stay lean? And I love the way this question was phrased because we can have positive habits and we can have negative habits. And as soon as I saw this question, it just got my brain going because most often it's the bad habits that drag us down. It's not about putting in new habits. Maybe we can work out a little bit harder, eat a little bit healthier. And most people often, when they think, I want to be leaner, I want to lose fat, they'll instantly think, okay, I need to start eating more salads, more vegetables, more protein. I need to work out more. I need to actually do cardio. But we don't actually change the thing that's holding us back from being lean in the first place. And a great example of this, I mentioned this previously on the podcast, but I was in the change room. A guy was looking at me. I could tell he was stressed out, looking at himself in the mirror. And he's like, bro, what do you do for cardio? Because you could see I was lean and he wanted to be lean. And I'm like, I don't really do much cardio. I go on walks with my family. I enjoy doing that, but I don't do anything too dedicated or crazy, probably to what he was thinking I would say, where I'd be like, hey, I do 30 minutes of Stairmaster, all these crazy things. I'll play sports here and there, but I can get away with doing no cardio and maintain my level of leanness because I track my calories, I have good eating habits, I'm consistent, and I don't have these extreme days. And then with him, I said, most often than not, it's just being accurate with your eating and really winning that nighttime. And instantly he's like, yeah, I end up snacking and overeating every night. And I'm like, well, there's your problem, not the cardio. So instead of having that mentality of the addition, oftentimes it's looking at subtraction with some of the bad habits. And the first one I would say is eating in the junk hours. And what I mean by this is you've had your food for the day, you're satiated, you've ate a dinner, you sit down, you're watching TV, you're out with friends, and someone passes around a nacho or orders a nachos at a restaurant, and you're already full, and you go, oh, I'll just eat a few, and then a few ends up being the whole thing of nachos. Or you're at home, you're bored, and you go and grab a snack. This is time where you can easily stack up calories, and I'm a believer that most often times there's no need to be eating after 8 p.m. unless you haven't had dinner and you've had a busy day and you need food for fuel. But eating to make you feel better is like putting a little bit of tape over a really bad leak. It's just going to end up leaking through and become worse and ultimately just get really, really bad because you're going to start with something small. Even recently, like I've just heard examples of people saying, oh, well, I'll just start with something small like vegetables or grapes or something, and then ends up being ice cream and then a few ice creams, and it can be its own challenge there. And that's where breaking that habit of being like you need something when you're watching TV or when you're with friends and just saying, I'm good for the day, I've hit my calories. Because if you expect that food to make you feel better, it's just going to end up making you feel worse because it's hard to stop. You feel like a failure the next day, and you'll be consistent with those patterns. So the first habit I would say if you want to get lean is to stop the excessive eating at night. If you save calories and you want to enjoy like some popcorn with a movie or something, by all means be welcome. But I just prefer to say, hey, I'm enjoying a movie right now, or I'm with friends or whatever it is, and I don't need that extra thing. So that's one habit off the top of my mind. I got a few more, but I'm curious what Kyle has.
I really like what Josh said there, and it got me thinking his answer about the quote, it's not about what you do, it's about what you don't do. And I thought that was so powerful, especially for this remark. Like he said, everyone's thinking addition, but the subtraction part is absolutely huge. And that's the thing that I find is really holding a lot of people back. And you'll probably see on Instagram, it should be up by now, but I put up just a little whiteboard tutorial talking about the reasons why you're not losing weight. And the main one was it wasn't insulin, it wasn't genetics, it wasn't carbs. It was just your overall eating patterns are horrible. Or for the lack of, I could say your eating patterns are garbage or you're just eating like trash, like if I wanted to get a little more aggressive. But that's the truth though. It's just the main thing is that you're constantly stuffing yourself. You're constantly snacking. You're constantly having things right before bed when you shouldn't. Your eating patterns are just is what needs to be essentially changed. Like that's the biggest habit. And it starts like there's a lot of different things you can implement. I even made a recent YouTube video on 5 different things that I find is very helpful to help you with these eating patterns. But I really find that like sitting down and fully making sure that you can just get control of that. It makes such a big difference. And that's why I would just say the endless snacking, the kind of just mindless eating without, logging things into my Fitness Pal, like that's probably the biggest thing that will make a big difference. And I find that most people who aren't succeeding on their journey right now, it's just because they're simply overeating and because they're grabbing whatever, or when they go out to eat, they feel the need to get an appetizer, have, a couple bowls of bread when they bring it, an entire entree and so much more, and then a dessert and then a couple of drinks. And not to say that you can't have fun, but I find that a lot of times like that kind of who cares mentality is what's really holding people back. So once you get laser focused on your goals, you log everything in as best as possible, you're as consistent as possible, and you get rid of that like really bad eating. Once again, you can have a cookie, you can have a donut, you can add all these fun things in, but that will make the biggest difference in my personal opinion.
And one thing I wanted to add with that too is just eliminating the need for cheat days, that all or nothing mentality of like, I'm going to take a day off and I'm just going to be crazy. Instead, say, hey, I have no problem having this meal that I know isn't healthy. Like I'm going to eat some pizza. I'm going to have 4 or 5 slices, but I'm going to make it fit. The rest of the day is going to be built around it positively. And even if it doesn't fit exactly perfect, if it's an intentional day and you're 200 or 300 calories over, you can still enjoy that, not feel sick, not feel miserable, because you can have a lot more control. Whereas a cheat day, if you're normally eating like, let's say 3,000 calories, I firmly believe I could eat 6,000 to 7,000 calories each day if I didn't have to regulate myself. I would have no problem eating that much food. And I know that sounds absurd, but we can prove it because we've done like probably 10,000 calorie challenges, and we've actually done a 15,000 calorie challenge previously. So believe me when I say I could absolutely do it. That's where this attitude can be so bad, because if in that day I'm in a surplus of 4,000 calories, even if I'm in a solid deficit the rest of the week, I'm going to spin my wheels. I'm going to be in circles. And the next day I'm going to feel disgusting. I'm going to feel spilt over. I'm going to have a headache. I'm going to be full. And then it's going to be hard for me to have the energy to reset to that. And then it's real easy too the next day, if it's not perfect, to let this become a cycle and to see that repeat and have it be a couple bad days and a cheat week. And instead, really just being realistic and trying to move to more of a position of health is a big one I would definitely recommend. And piggybacking off what I said with the nighttime, another thing I want to challenge you with is a bad habit is not getting the right sleep. By not having enough sleep, you are absolutely destroying your opportunity of success for the day, because your energy will be all off, your hunger signaling will be way off, and you can actually, when you're really heavily sleep deprived, be more prone to gain more visceral fat as a result of that, especially when you are overeating and making bad decisions. And it can be easier when you have less willpower because you're not well slept. And I think where most people experience this the most is making bad decisions at night, endless scrolling on their phone, watching too much Netflix, be out drinking way too late, way too often. Like, these are habits you can absolutely break that will really help you with your leanness. And if you can work against them and start to see positive change, it'll just make things so much easier. Another habit I'd really recommend, it's really just being on top of your logging. So don't just at the end of the day throw all your stuff in My Fitness Pal. Maybe this is you. Maybe I'm calling you out, but maybe you need to hear it. Log it before you eat it. And even for myself, I always need to remind myself I got to log it before I eat it. And it's so easy. I'll go pour myself a cup of coconut water and I'll forget to log it. And then maybe later in the day I forgot that and a couple other things. And I think I've hit my calories, but maybe I'm 300 or 400 calories over. And that's where it's like, okay, if I want to consume this, I got to put it in. And there's times where I'll look at a snack or something I want to grab and I'll be like, I don't want to log this. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to eat it clearly bad enough. Sometimes we just want to reach it and get that good taste for 2 seconds. But I think being more intentional and saying, like, when am I hungry? What do I actually want? Do I want to enjoy a dessert? No problem. I'm going to love this slice of cake. And then it can be really tempting to say, okay, I'm going to have 3 more slices of cake. When you've already logged the one, I find it's easier to stop. And just know, like, the first 5 bites will taste the same as the next 80. If not, the next 80 will start to wear down in quality a little bit. So really being realistic with this, being on it with your tracking, on it with your data, like, doing all of these things I find alone will make it so easy to stay lean. And these can seem really insurmountable if you have a bad history with them. But I think really just making a black and white, like, I'm going to operate at this higher level. I'm going to be honest with myself. And it's just a way healthier approach to life. Whereas if you're like, I've been good, I've been bad, I've been good, I've been bad, I think that's where people really get in the weeds with things. So those are my top tips. Any other habits you have to cut out?
The last thing I was going to say, and kind of got me thinking about Josh's cheat day remark, because I feel like a lot of times within people's week, it's like majority, like let's say over 50% of it has been less than ideal. A lot of times it starts with Thursday and then works onwards. But I was having a conversation with someone recently. He's super jacked and he's been crushing it in the gym. Always see him there. And we were talking about donuts in the sauna. He mentioned, oh man, there's a local place called Crave Donuts. He had a few of them, but he was able to pinpoint that time where it was like a week or two ago where he just went off on donuts, enjoyed it. It was a Sunday. He had a great workout the next day. He jumped right back on track. And it got me really thinking after he left. I was like, it's interesting that you're able to pinpoint that, because I feel like a lot of times when you have a conversation with someone, there's like many of those moments where they're like, oh yeah, yesterday I was out at this place and had a buffet. And then the day before I'd had the donuts. And then this past Sunday was my dog's birthday party and we had tons of cake. Like there's a lot of those moments. And I find that the most successful and the leanest are those people who they do enjoy that moment. They're able to pinpoint, hey, I had half a pizza here. I had, some of the donuts here. They're not the people who say I've never had anything. Like that's not exactly reality. And that's not what's going to really help you progress and also live life and whatnot. But the most successful I find are the ones who have had those moments. They can pinpoint it a couple weeks back or a couple days back or whatever it is. And it's the odd time where they enjoy it and then they keep moving forward. But most of the times people are at that like 60 to 80%. It's just like the days are horrible. And then like a few of the days, like Monday to Wednesday, they're really solid. So obviously a lot of my tips rely around nutrition because that's what I find most people mess up on. And really fun question.
110%. Rarely are people ever like, I'm not lean because I don't train enough. It's nutrition. You could be immensely lean, never training, never moving, by obviously severely restricting your calorie count. This would be an incredibly unhealthy way to do it. You wouldn't look very good, but you would absolutely be lean. So once again, just more balance, being more realistic, and food is fuel. And you'll find too, when you train hard, you'll actually be surprised how much you can truly eat, especially when you are consistent and accurate with it. It's just more often than not these extreme days that are really messing up your averages, and you're starving yourself against those days and to make up for those bad habits. And like we said, it's such a vicious cycle, and we love helping people escape this within our coaching. And I find what gets tracked gets managed. And I always say, like, shame dies in the light. And when you start to look at your data and you understand your behaviors and you're able to discuss it through with someone, and I love getting to the root of like why my clients will do things. I've used the analogy before of like when I'm not feeling great or I'm feeling sad, like I want to reach to food for comfort. But I think even having that higher level thinking and escaping that trap of being like, this isn't actually going to make me feel better. It's going to make me feel worse long term. And if I order this pizza here, it's going to be $30. It's going to be 2,000 calories over. I'm going to feel all full and sick and spilt over. And then I'm going to be like, why did I do that? And then the next day I'm going to be like, I don't want to go to the gym because I don't feel good. My skin's going to get all pimply. Like instead too, it's like, hey, I really want pizza tonight. Let me crush my protein. Let me make this work. And then boom, you can make it fit in there. Like you can have your cake and eat it too, literally. And that's why we're so big on this. But that was our first question. That was a really fun one. So thank you for asking that. But now we're going to go ahead and jump into our quotes. What do you got, Kyle?
So I got really inspired because so many of you awesome people messaging us on Instagram. By the way, feel free to message us. We're always in there, always happy to help. And anyway, so I find a lot of people are getting started, which is awesome. A lot of people are, summer is kind of, sadly, it's starting to come to an end. Yesterday, our volleyball ended a bit earlier because it's getting a bit darker, and it's sad to see, but I know a lot of people are ready to dial in and get started on their journey. So anyways, it just got me thinking about how if you're just getting started, that's awesome. Like it's never too late. We have a lot of new listeners and we're very grateful for it. But anyways, so I have two quotes. I couldn't choose one. The first one was, it doesn't matter where you start in life, it's where you finish that counts. It's not your first word, but your last that defines you. I love that, just simply getting started, and it doesn't matter when, where, what time. Like the fact is, if you're getting started, awesome, just keep going. And then the other quote was, it doesn't matter where you start, only that you begin. So similar to the whole fitness journey, I guess, kind of applying it to this whole fun journey is like, no matter what age you're at, like just really go all in and just enjoy the process. Like the fact that you're getting started, whether you're, 17 listening to this, you're 33, you're 63, like it's an amazing time because there's no point in looking back and thinking, oh, I wish, or, if only I did it sooner and whatnot. And I've been talking a lot about regret because I feel like that's something that holds a lot of people back. But yeah, simply the fact that you have begun, the fact that you're listening to this podcast, like you're in the top 0.00 whatever percent someone just listening and saying, I'm going to go out of my way to listen to a health and fitness podcast to better myself, like, so much respect for you. And the biggest part about that is actually taking what we say and applying it and starting to take action, which is, I think, where a lot of people do begin to struggle. So some people may hear us talking about cutting out snacking or, tracking calories, and it may be fun to hear and may feel like you've like done something because you've like listened to it and you're like, oh, that sounds great. Like, might have to try it one day. But I really encourage you to take these tips, to apply it, and to give yourself some credit for, once again, being in that top 0 whatever percent for listening to a fitness and health podcast. And we're so happy to have you here. So let's get it, dial in, and we're always happy to help. And tune in every Monday, Thursday, follow our YouTube, follow our Instagram. We're always happy to support you.
Yeah, we're here to fuel you up. So thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate that. And we're going to keep ripping with an incredible episode. And we'll do that with my quote. So my quote is, your future is created by what you do today, not tomorrow. And that is from Robert Kiyosaki. So I love this quote because there's so many quotes about how tomorrow never comes. And all too often with fitness, it's I'll start tomorrow. I'll start my diet this weekend. I'll start after this event. But that attitude, that's how me and Kyle always know, we're like, hey, this isn't destined to end well for this individual. If you want change, you need to take change in the here and now and let it be progressive. It doesn't need to be all at once. It's so easy to go from doing nothing to doing everything, but just start by making one small change, whatever it is. And that's how you're going to see that long-term result, by making that change once and doing it consistently. So your future is created by what you do today, not what you do tomorrow. And I thought that was just an excellent quote. And we're going to segue into our thoughts. My thought, as always, is pretty applicable to my quote. So I just saw a little note here that I love that said, most people tell themselves that if they felt better, they'd do the thing, when it's actually doing the thing that makes them feel better. And all too often, like, I think obviously as we get older, it's easier to identify what actually makes us feel better. And even yesterday, I was just feeling like a little lethargic, a little bit tired. It was kind of like that hump of the day. And I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. And then you start thinking, oh, maybe I just need some yummy food or a good snack or a extra bonus coffee. I'm like, I know what I need right now. I need to go out in the sun, go on a walk. Did that, felt phenomenal, really charged me up, got me feeling great. And all too often we're just like sitting around not feeling good, and we're like, and the last thing you want to do is like go to a workout. But when you do that workout, you feel so fantastic. Or ordering that healthy thing versus that other really appealing thing. Like, at first it seems like you tell yourself, oh, I'll do it once I feel better, but it's hard to expect yourself to get there without actually doing the things that make you feel better. So this was something I really thought about, and like doing that hard thing actually makes life easier and gets you more charged up. When I have a healthy breakfast and I get to bed on, well, better analogy will start when I get to bed on time, I wake up on time, I'm fired up for the day. I have a healthy breakfast. It makes it easier for me to go to the gym and crush my workout. When I have a phenomenal workout, it's that much easier for me to eat a great lunch. From a great lunch and I've had a great morning, it's easy for me to do really great quality work. And when I continue that later in the day, I have great energy and happiness for my family. And then it's much easier to go to bed knowing I banked such an incredible day. And that all starts by winning that decision, like we said, of the night before, of getting to bed on time. Then you can see how these things snowball. So once again, don't tell yourself that if you felt better, if the situation was more perfect, you do it. Do the thing when it's actually what is going to make you feel better.
It really got me thinking, and that was very well said. It got me thinking about when I was reading books on habits, like back, I remember they were saying, like, in order to, like, you always think you need to be motivated to do something, but in reality, doing that thing, like taking that action, is what will lead to that motivation. So it's pretty backwards because, yeah, like habits, people think like, oh, well, I have to be fired up in order to do something. But then it's like, when you start to take action, when you start to put one foot in front of the other, show up to the gym, like that's what's going to make you actually feel motivated and feel fired up. So it's funny. It's kind of like it feels like almost like a backwards thing, but it's a lot of times, even I know so many people like, oh, I'm not feeling motivated this week, or, just, I'm not feeling it. It's like, well, you got to do it first and then you'll start to feel it. And I felt that many times over. So I thought that was great. One thing I got thinking about on a book I was reading, he was the author, Bedros Keuilian is his name. He was talking about how a lot of people are operating with the emergency brake on. So I don't know if anyone's ever tried to drive and they've had the emergency or the e-brake or whatever on, and you just feel like you can't go anywhere. Like, you can go a little bit, but like you're not going fast and you're getting there very, very slowly. So I've made that mistake before. I'm like, why aren't I going anywhere? So the main thing is on people's fitness journey, life journey, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. I know a lot of you are on your fitness journey here. That's why you're tuning in. Some of you may like the life advice as well, the habit advice, all that great stuff. But there may be a lot of things that are essentially relating to it being like an emergency brake, right? It could be your self-doubt. It could be a fear of like just a family member thinking something about you, or just like you being scared to fail. Those are a few examples that come to mind, but there are definitely a lot of these emergency brakes that are just like really holding you back and really, really slowing you down. So I thought it was a cool little trick or exercise to sit down and think like, what are these emergency brakes that are actually like slowing me down, holding me back? Like if I could accomplish something, some people would lose, let's say 20, 25 pounds in, 25 on the higher end, but in let's say 90 days, like if you're just very slowly trickling along because maybe your eating habits, or maybe I know we were talking a lot about eating habits. So it might be something that you feel like is holding you back. Whatever it is that's holding you back, sit down, think, how can I get rid of this emergency brake? And what do I need to do to help push myself forward so I don't have to constantly struggle or just get there slowly? Because if you're there's no rush to get somewhere essentially on your fitness journey, but it's a heck of a lot more motivating when you're getting there faster, when you're pushing yourself, when you're starting to see the progress day to day, you're getting that momentum, like all that great stuff. So yeah, just think about what's holding you back. I do find that usually it's going to be something going on in your brain. A lot of mind games, a lot of tricks, a lot of, you may thinking that you're not worth it or you don't have what it takes. So spend some time, do this exercise. I promise you it can push you forward faster and more efficiently.
That's awesome. And earlier we were just talking about the bad habits to cut out, and those are all examples of emergency brakes. So the self-audit is so powerful. If you're like, imagine you were your friend imagine you're giving one of your friends advice, but that friend is you. What would you tell yourself you need to change to actually see success? So phenomenal exercise there. And now we're going to go ahead and jump into our client shout out, someone who has been crushing in the program. Who do we got?
So Chris, he's been absolutely crushing it. You'll see on YouTube, we always like to post the photo of the transformation, and he's just honestly looking like a whole different person. Like I'm so incredibly proud. He's been working with Coach Jason. He came to us 44 years old. He came in at 194. He's down to 162. So he's actually lost 32 pounds of fat. He's definitely put on some muscle, as you can see once again in the photos. And it's just absolutely incredible. He came obviously with the goal of wanting to be healthy, and he wanted to be strong. He wanted to be a great example for his family, keep up with his twin girls as they age, which is absolutely incredible. So we love stuff like this, especially new fathers, mothers, like just people who are wanting to get to the next level and just feel their absolute best. Like there's nothing better. Even Chris, like losing over 30 pounds, it's not, yes, of course he looks a lot better. Yes, he feels a lot better, but it's like the day-to-day stuff. Like he's going to be sleeping better. He's going to have more energy. He's going to be running around at the park a lot longer. Every single part of your life improves, whether you lose 20 pounds of fat, whether you lose 50 pounds of fat, whether you gain a bunch of new muscle. Like it's just absolutely incredible. And we're so proud of this transformation. He said he stopped drinking alcohol April 1st. He said he used to drink a little bit, and now he's just like all in, and he's just not having anything, which is another amazing habit change. It could be an emergency brake for some people, that alcohol. I know a lot of people do struggle with that. So anyways, amazing job, Chris. If you are looking to get to the next level, reach your goals, feel your absolute best day to day, lose body fat, and just finally stop struggling, we are running a special promo, and the keyword here is going to be fat loss. All you have to do is head to our Instagram. Our Instagram is ColossusFit, ColossusFit. Send us a message with the keyword fat loss. We'll know exactly which episode you came from. We'll hook you up with a special discounted rate, and I promise you, you will not regret sending that message because we will change your life.
Awesome. Now into our second question. What are your thoughts on test boosters? So we get asked this a lot. So straightforward, anything over the counter is just going to be a waste of time. It's not going to be anything dosed to actually make a significant enough of a change. And if you're overly concerned on boosting your testosterone, you can greatly do this by cleaning up your diet, managing stress, and getting phenomenal sleep. Like you can really elevate your test levels quite substantially. And I know there's a big fascination with testosterone, and there are a lot of nuances that come alongside this. And obviously TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, is a whole different discussion, because that's where you're actively adding a lot of testosterone to the body, most oftentimes through a doctor. And there will be a lot of debate of, am I low testosterone? And This is a whole nother thought. So I think there's nothing wrong with going out, getting your blood work done, seeing where you're at. And the way I see it is, unless you actually feel you're really deficient in something, I wouldn't go creating problems for yourself or worrying about things, and just instead focus on fundamentals and feeling better. But like the testosterone supplements you could buy at like GNC or something aren't going to be any worth your while. They're just going to be a rip off, and you're going to be basically throwing money into the wind. So I would highly avoid that. And like, I would avoid this train of thought unless you're like over 40 and really low in tests, or you have some sort of deficiency and you've done the blood work to see it. And then I would definitely consult a doctor for it. But that's my short and simple answer, because I think there's too much credence given to this, because it's just super easy to say, oh, I take this magical thing, and if you take it, you'll look like me. And then it's the fitness influencers on a bunch of supplements, and it can really, not supplements, sorry, steroids, that will really, really steer you wrong and just end up hurting you.
Yeah, I bought into this marketing years and years ago. I hate to admit it. I just remember, I don't know, seeing one of those guys, he's jacked. He's like, man, like, you got to try this. It was probably on bodybuilding.com. And I don't know, it was weird. It was like one of those like supplements that does nothing, but aside from like marketing. This was, keep in mind, like 8+ years ago. Like, I didn't really know a whole lot then. Looking back, I'm like, why the heck? Like, this just completely pointless. But yeah, I feel like a lot of times we get asked questions about, like, let's say boosting testosterone, decreasing stress, like whatever, like it is where some people are trying to fix something. A lot of times the answer is just, there's all the things in front of us, but then we want to try to like look around and like find something different. Like, even simply, like I was saying, alcohol, watching your alcohol intake, increasing your vitamin D intake, eating more protein, just keeping track of your calories, exercising, lifting weights. Like, these are all incredible, essentially free ways to just like boost your metabolism, boost your testosterone, like just boost every single area of your life, like your energy levels and whatnot. And, just getting out for more walks, like all these great habits that just can absolutely help. So just, I'd say a lot of times before jumping into something, you have to really ask yourself, like, and especially for this, like, I definitely would not recommend, like, especially if you're like, I find like 26-year-olds being like, oh, I need, I heard someone at the gym, like, he's hopped on this thing, like, I gotta try it out. Or I saw this, one bodybuilder online, he's just recommending this product. It's like, spend time really optimizing the stuff that's in front of you, that's free, that's tried and true, that's like, just like easy to create habits with, and you'll be 100% way better off. But yeah, that was a good question there.
Yeah, and now into our final question. How can I change my body composition and my body shape? This is a great question. This is one we get asked often as well, and it's something we're really passionate about. And with composition, most often it's most tempting to say, I'm just going to go hard on that specific area I want to change. So if you're like, I want to tighten my waist, we've talked about this in the past, I'll do a ton of abs. If I want to really have more of like a V look as a man, I'll do a lot of back and shoulders. And once again, there's a lot of truth in this, because what will change your composition is actively training hard, shaping your muscles, and really building the look of a body you want. And once again, if someone wants an hourglass look, there's only so much you can do outside of your bone structure, and everyone will be entirely different where their hips set, and where their hips are set, and where their bones are structured, and the lengths of their bones, and their different dimensions. And some people naturally will have really wide set hips, really tight waist and rib cage, and they'll really have that hourglass look. Or some guys will have crazy broad shoulders, and these are absolutely incredible advantages to have. But with compositional change and training our muscles hard, we can create a lot more shape, but you can only do so much outside of your own physique. So there's some people that are crazy exceptions to the rule, and maybe they have the widest hips in the world and the tightest little hourglass waist. Once again, you can only work against your natural bone density, but an easy way, if you wanted to look more hourglassy as a woman, is you could train your shoulders, or as a man, I suppose, you could train your shoulders, you could train your glutes, you could really build out your legs and your quads, and you could really present that image of really having that hourglass look. You could get lean so you have a tighter waist, make that happen. A lot of guys want to have V-ish Superman look, and you can really achieve this by really blowing up your shoulders, your back, your arms, and that's really going to make you look wide and dense and strong. And once again, there's so many in-betweens within this, but body composition in general, the best thing you can do is add muscle, train hard, really focus in on that, and there's not too much outside of it. But by doing this, it's going to give you a lot of capability and a lot of potential.
Yeah, and I find that like the most people struggle because when they lose weight, they lose a lot of muscle, right? Especially for those who aren't actually strength training, and strength training like heavily and consistently enough. So, just using an example, the one person who says, hey, I'm getting into it, I've done a few classes, I do a lot of cardio, I'm watching my nutrition, that's absolutely awesome. But unfortunately, a lot of times when people look at themselves and when they think that their body's gonna change to this like goal that they have and like how they want to look and they want to grow their glutes and do all these things and tighten up, they're usually not as happy as if someone is to strength train 4 times a week, do heavy hip thrusts, some really good squats, train their upper body intensely as well while keeping track of their nutrition and making all those changes. That second example, that person I just listed out, is going to be so much happier with their overall composition, with how they look. They're not going to be this massive bodybuilder and, just this crazy looking steroid type person like some people think when they start lifting weights. And so that person who's been strength training combined with the nutrition and everything else is going to be significantly happier with their body composition. Of course, if your goal is to just tighten up, tone up, all these things where you're looking and feeling a lot stronger and like leaner, that is most people's goal, I find. So that would be the best way. And I find so many people, especially if you are newer into this whole fitness journey, you just came across our podcast, like a lot of times people will just go to that treadmill and Stairmaster. And once again, it's good for your health. It's awesome that you're moving your body, but those who are actually making the biggest changes in the gym, going up on those barbell squats, like getting used to all these movements that are a bit uncomfortable, that take you time, those are the people that will be like blown away at how they're looking and just day to day their overall body composition. So yeah, great question and great answer there.
Yeah, awesome question. And once again, training hard, nutrition, the fundamentals, as you can see, that is what we're big on. And once again, fitness often comes down to the pyramid. What do I mean by the pyramid? Really locking in on the nutrition, the training, as well as your accountability, self-management, sleep, stress, those personal factors on the side. When you get balanced across those 3 areas, we mentioned it as a pyramid or a stool before. If it was a 3-legged stool and you missed a leg, you'd kind of sit, but it would be very shaky. If you missed 2 legs, you'd be really falling really bad. If you had no legs, you wouldn't have a stool to sit down on the beginning. And that's why we really focus our coaching on maximizing all these different areas with the highest level systems and strategies. So if you're looking to lose fat, gain muscle, and become your best self and create long-term lasting change, really nip in the bud the habits you have that are holding you back and that are restricting your progress, and you're sick of being in that cycle of not being where you want to be, let's break through those plateaus together and get you to the level you never thought possible. All you need to do is DM us on Instagram, the keyword fat loss. Our Instagram is at ColossusFit, ColossusFit. I just want to thank you so much for tuning into this episode and just being with us today. We appreciate you listening. If you love this episode, share it with a friend, share it to your story, tag us on Instagram. If you have any questions to ask, also be sure to send them on Instagram. But just want to thank you once again and have a phenomenal day.